Hello everyone, Zadix Squared here. Welcome to Clan Krug. So today I wanted to talk about an Arc Warlock build. I am normally fairly negative towards the Arc subclass. I tend to think that it is the weakest of the three light subclasses, and that kind of applies to all three classes, Hunter, Warlock, and Titan. But there are some really good things about it. I think that Jolt is an incredible ability, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So starting off, we're on Warlock. Obviously, we're running Arc, like I said, and we're running the exotic helmet Fallen Sunstar, which buffs our ionic traces so that they move faster, grant additional ability energy, and nearby allies also gain ability energy when we collect an ionic trace. This is incredibly useful as we are going to be making a lot of them using this build. So the one weapon that I'm going to be talking about here is kind of the bread and butter of this build, is Path of Least Resistance. I don't too often talk about specific legendary roles that I'm running with this, but for this build, it's kind of important that you run something at least similar to this. So I am running, obviously, like I said, Path of Least Resistance. I have Small Bore, Tactical Battery, Stats for All, and Voltshot on it, as well as a Reload Masterwork. This is crafted, so it is Enhanced Voltshot, and also we're running Omelon Fluid Dynamics as the origin trait. This is going to make it so that we have an incredibly fast reload time on this weapon, and then whenever we reload after defeating a target, it's going to overcharge the weapon for an improved short period of time, causing it to jolt on its next hit, which is going to make it so it's going to chain lightning to a bunch of enemies. Pairing this weapon with Arc Warlock is going to give us an incredible ability to just run through adds and do some great damage to them, as well as also be able to do with champions a little bit better. So, for Arc abilities, I'm running Chain Lightning, which is just strong to be able to jolt targets easily. Pulse Grenade, as it is one of the strongest Arc grenades right now. Arc Soul, which is whenever we use our Rift, it's going to create an Arc Soul that fires at targets in front of us. And while we're amplified, our Arc Souls are supercharged and gain increased fire rate. This is incredibly useful as we're easily able to get amplified in this build. Then we have Electrostatic Mind as our other aspect. Defeating targets with Arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. Collecting an ionic trace makes us amplified, which feeds back into the Arc Soul. For our fragments, we're running Spark of Beacons. While you are amplified, your Arc Special Weapon Final Blows create a blinding explosion. Spark of Discharge, Arc Weapon Final Blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. Spark of Ions, defeating a jolted target creates ionic traces. And Spark of Amplitude, rapidly defeating targets while we are amplified, creates an Orb of Power. This is going to make it so that whenever we kill something with our Trace Rifle, there's a chance that we get an Ionic Trace. We can then reload, get Jolt, and be able to jolt a bunch of things, guaranteeing we get Ionic Traces, and also getting amplified, and then once we're amplified, creating Blinding Explosions and creating Orbs of Power for all of these adds that we're killing. This build is great, not just solo, but also on a team, as Fallen Sunstar is going to be also granting ability energy to all of our teammates around us, so they're going to be able to spam their abilities more as well. For mods, you can run almost anything, though I do think that your best bet is to go with something similar to what I'm running, which is as many mods as you can run that increase special ammo gain. So I'm running Special Ammo Finder, as well as Arc Scav, and on top of that, I'm running Special Finisher so that when we get enough Orbs of Power, we're able to then finish an enemy and get a guaranteed special brick to drop. This is just going to make it so that we're able to use Path of Least Resistance as much as possible. On top of that, any reload mods on your arms or reserve mods on your armor is going to be helpful. You could also run Charged Up or Stacks on Stacks to increase the number of stacks that you're gaining and can hold to make it so that you're able to finish more enemies and get more ammo. While running this build, you're able to throw out abilities, throw out grenades, melees, cast your Rift as often as possible to get your Arc Soul back, and then use Path of Least Resistance to just kill enemies. When you're doing that, you're going to then be able to get jolted. Every time I kill an enemy, I reload and shoot the next enemy, jolting them. It normally kills them pretty quickly. Reload again, I can jolt again. It's a really good loop. On top of that, I can whip out my heavy weapon. I'm running Grand Overture here since it can blind, which is good for dealing with unstoppables, and it also just does good damage for its ammo economy to be able to just kill champions or the boss. I also have Chaos Reach on for the same thing. If I need to, I have a sidearm to be able to deal with barriers, as well as if I do run out of ammo on the Path of Least Resistance, I can use the sidearm until I get another brick. biggest weakness of this build is the special ammo economy. You can change up your mod so it's a little bit easier to get orbs of power to be able to get the finishers while using your sidearm, or you could also just play it out like I do with your sidearm until you can get a special brick to drop from your special ammo finder. I'm using this build here in both the Legend Lost sector and in the Heroic Nightfall. The Heroic Nightfall has matchmaking, so it's easier for me to be able to get footage for you guys, but it also works well as long as you're playing with teammates on Legend. If you're a bit higher light level than I am, you could also run it in Master Nightfalls and do moderately well. If you either don't like or don't have a crafted Path of Least Resistance or one with Voltshot on it, you can also use a few other weapons for a similar effect. The first one would be Brigand's Law, again with Voltshot. It was craftable from back in Season of the Plunder, so it might not be easy to get now if you didn't get it then, but it has Voltshot and performs pretty well. And on top of that, it's going to allow you to deal with both barriers and overloads this season. On top of that, you could also run the Eiklos SMG, which also gets Voltshot. Either of those would be great and are primary weapons, so you don't have to worry about the ammo economy as much, and are able to instead focus on mods that are going to help you in general gameplay, like tank mods or reload mods, whereas I'm a little bit less able to since I have to focus more in on getting special ammo. If you weren't able to get any of those crafted last year when they were still available, currently we have Iterative Loop, Prodigal Return, Posterity, and Phylotactic Spiral, all of which are currently available and craftable this season. Just keep in mind that landing a grenade launcher shot or a fusion rifle shot in a high-end activity could be easier said than done, and also is going to burn through your special ammo even faster than it would for a trace rifle. For that reason, either Posterity or Phylotactic Spiral is probably the way to go here. This build has been incredibly strong while I'm running it, and while I don't think it's the best this season, as we don't have any seasonal artifact mods that really enhance it in any way, I could see it being incredibly strong down the line when we do get some more seasonal artifact mods that do help arc out a little bit more. Anyway, that's the build. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been Zadex Squared. If you have any suggestions for this build or other builds, please share them down in the comments below. I've been loving some of the suggestions that you guys have made on past builds of mine, and I'd definitely like to make a video update soon, talking about some of my old builds and not just the suggestions you guys have made, but also some new things due to Lightfall changing how mods and certain aspects work. I'll see you all next time. Bye.